All right. Hello, fans, and welcome to another episode of High and Tight, coming to you live on our social platforms via StreamYard. I am John Nolan, the Prep Baseball Northern Virginia Scouting Director. Joining me this evening is the Virginia DC Scouting Director, Jason Burton, and the Virginia DC Assistant Scouting Director, Jordan Jones. Jason, Jordan, how are we doing?
Doing pretty good, pretty good.
Amazing. I'm following Jordan's energy.
Is everyone thawed from Monday and Tuesday?
Not quite. I'm still kind of frozen,
Monday may have been the coldest night of my life.
I will concur with that. Monday was way, way, way up there. That's for sure.
Wednesday was windy, but Monday at Mountain View was just absolutely brutal.
Yeah. Monday, I was at Kettle Run Fuck Year. That was, I guess someone tried to explain to me that it's at the bottom of a hill in a wind tunnel, but it does not matter. It was just cold. All right. So on tonight's episode, we're going to discuss our new Power 25, which we'll release on the website tomorrow morning. Standout players that we saw in our travels this week. And then we'll actually take a minute and we'll look ahead to the Commonwealth Classic, which somehow or another is next Saturday, believe it or not, right? Burton, have you looked at the weather forecast, or are you too terrified to do so right now?
No, I have flashbacks of last year. We'll look at the weather forecast like Wednesday.
I was about to say flashbacks to last year, flashbacks to first pitch, whichever time that we tried to do something and Mother Nature said no.
Jordan and I have like freaking go into like, itching and withdrawals and stuff like that, thinking about it. And I look, Miller School is beautiful and nice, but you talk about an extreme pivot from Colonial Heights to Crozet, Virginia, just on a whim. That was an elite experience.
That was a day. There's just no other way to describe it. That was a day for sure. And we even got most of our stuff in at Hanover. So once the rain finally decided it was done. But yeah, I do not envy you guys that drive, being at Shepherd and then having to run out to Miller. So, all right. Well, we'll get back to that.
The wind was – no, I was going to say the wind was so bad there. I remember talking to Jordan about – I was worried. We were on that mountain and you got all the trees everywhere. I legit was worried that we had brought, Greenbrier Christian from Chesapeake, Virginia to Charlottesville, and they were all in. They were all about it. And we get the second inning, and then like a tree falls on a power line, and we have no lights. And like I was just like, oh, this is gonna happen. This is my day.
I just remember on their way to Charlottesville, they got out at Hanover and they were like watching the first game at my field, and I like see them because they're all in uniform. They're on their the Greenbrier Christian bus that they ride around everywhere. And I like walk over to one of the players. I'm like, why are you guys here? You're at the wrong field. And they're like, no, we're taking a pit stop along the way. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, thank God. All right. So let's actually get into what we're here to talk about and not burn our time. So tomorrow on the website, we're going to run our first update of the Power 25 for the 2024 season. There's going to be some significant movement. We got a lot of changes. We've had 2 weeks of action. A lot of teams have played 4, 5, and 6 games, and there's a few that have played 1. So I don't want to spoil everything for the release or for later in this chat that we're going to discuss. But a big thing that happened this week was we had a matchup between number 1 and number 2 in the old rankings, and a big WCAC showdown between St. Paul VI and St. John's on Tuesday night in the wind in Northern Virginia, and in a marathon 3-hour-plus game. Paul VI beat St. John's. So decent chance we might see a change at the top of the rankings. I don't know if we want to release that now or wait. Also, there's a team that we thought might be a year away in Class 6. They've come out in dominant fashion off to a 4-0 start. Overall here, so looking at the new Power 25, because we're looking at it, you guys can look at it tomorrow on the website. Jordan, what are your takeaways right now from the update, just in general?
I mean, well, obviously the Power 25 had some early shakeups early in the season, some upsets, some teams going down. So definitely some sneaky teams in the state that are little bit ahead than what we thought. But it's just good overall to see the depth that we have going so far with some younger teams taking out some of the bigger teams early on in the season.
No, absolutely. New blood moving up and taking out some of the veteran teams is always a good thing. Bert, what are some of the teams to watch in the next week or two that could possibly be jumping in or are close to doing so? Especially here is where it's spring break. Teams are on, or for some of the states, teams are on tournaments. The rest of the state will go on break next week. There's a lot of possibility here and a lot of mobility that can happen. So, what are some teams to keep an eye on?
I think my biggest takeaway is just the weird and strange fact of like people, chirping staff members about Power 25 rankings and just making just very odd and off the wall comments and stuff about Power 25 and where their team is ranked and this, that, and the other. Like, it's just very strange for people to do that, but it happens. I think, people got to understand, hey, this is not like, backtracking or anything like that on what we ranked. There were 3 teams inside of our Power 25 rankings who lost arms, some multiple arms for the season that we had no idea about, because people don't outwardly advertise, it's not ESPN, right? It's not, we're not D1 baseball and we get, it's not, SIDs putting out, this guy had Tommy John and left the school and this, that, and the other. Like, we don't get those updates. So
We're
when
not
we get them
doing
after we
Woj
put
bombs or Burt bombs or Jones bombs. No Woj bomb news.
Yeah, no, like we don't get those updates. I mean, like I said, it was 3 teams, and those 3 teams are still going to be pretty good, but they're not on the same level that they would have been at with those players. So everybody just take a breath, and our staff's at a game trying to work and trying to help players. Just leave them alone. But I think the youth movement of one of the teams coming in is pretty impressive. I think the bolts, as they call them, the Light Ridge lightning bolts or whatever. I think they've had an impressive early season start, beating Freedom. The offenses, I got a chance to see them the other night, and I'll get a chance to see them tomorrow. The offense was pretty intriguing. And they got a solid arm at the top, and Mason Sproat, who's back healthy. So they're definitely a team to watch. You got some other teams moving in. And honestly, just some teams just haven't lived up to the billing that their roster shows. And I know it's early, but some teams are coming out hot, firing, and ready to go. And some teams, I don't know if they just like kind of coasted into it, thinking their talent alone on the roster was going to get them through. But there'll be a lot of change throughout the season, regardless.
No, absolutely. And I will say this, if we hear about player injuries, it's not our place to necessarily publicize that. So we wouldn't, honestly, unless it's been publicized somewhere else.
No, we wouldn't publicize it, but we would take it but we would take it into account when we're ranking a team, for sure.
No, I know. I'm just saying, in general, just throwing that out there as a disclaimer. If we hear about someone's injury, that's not our business to tweet or share. Even unless it's already out there somewhere else. All right. So again, Power 25 tomorrow on the website. Make sure you check your update. Jason, top of your head right now, are we going to wait 2 weeks here again on this with breaks going on, or are we going to go ahead and roll it again next week and start doing every Monday?
No, I think we'll go every Monday because most everybody's playing this week in some way, shape, or form. Most of the Nova teams are on break, but they're playing, especially your more premier programs, if you will. Most all of them are playing, and some of the teams that are on break, I know a couple are in our tournament, so they'll play on Saturday. So we'll get 2 games in before that next update. The plan is to update every single week, and then we'll release private school top 10 this Tuesday.
All right, there you go. So every Monday, starting tomorrow, updated Power 25 throughout the high school season, private school top 10 rolling on Tuesday. We'll probably wait a couple more weeks, but eventually we will get to doing a small school top 10 as well. So let's go ahead and shift our conversation here. Let's talk about player standouts. Guys have been running around like chickens with their heads cut off. Pardon me. So every week we're going to discuss players that stood out. I do want to point you guys towards our scout blogs. Those are going to be much more detailed notes. Nolan's notes, my releases on Wednesdays, Jordan's on Tuesdays. Burton puts 2 out, one a week, Mondays and Thursdays. Much more detailed information on those stories, so please go to them. But we're going to briefly talk about all the games that we were at this week as we go here. So far on the season, our staff in 2 weeks plus some scrimmage time has seen 41 games and 70 different teams. I'd say that's pretty good for 2 weeks, right, Jordan?
Yeah, sounds good. I love it. I love it.
I feel like Burton thinks we're behind pace right now, right?
I always think we're behind. Foot's got to stay on the gas.
All right. So we have games to talk about, teams that we saw. I'm going to go ahead and tip this one off to Jordan first. First game you saw was Chatham and Halifax. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what you saw there?
Yeah, when I went on Monday night, Halifax, they jumped out early. They dominated the game from the jump. Mason Hatcher got the start, and he controlled the game. He attacked the zone. He mixed pitches. He picked up 9 strikeouts on the night, but he started the tempo for them, and he controlled the game to get them to a good spot to hand the ball off later in the game. And Logan Clark really got the offense going for Halifax. He had a 3-hit night. He came up multiple times with runners in scoring position, and he cashed in. So it was good to see him making a statement in that lineup and getting the offense going for them rolling.
All right. So that was Jordan's first game. Jason, while we're talking about the freeze box that was Monday night, I'll flip it over to you here. Forest Park Mountain View, you were up in Stafford. What'd you see there?
I saw a lot of runs. I think Mountain View put up like 6 in the bottom of the first. I was like, this is going to be a 5-inning one here. I thought we were getting out of there early, and then I think 5th inning, we were like 2 hours and 15 minutes in, and like 17 runs total at that point, I think. Forest Park came charging back, went up 7-6. And then I think they made it like 10-7 or somewhere in there. And then i.e. our conversation with our player of the week from another game, I was headed back south because it was brutally cold, and I had already gotten like 4 at-bats on every single player. And I knew with a couple other district games, they weren't bringing in some of the front-end arms later on in that game. And then it ended up being, I think, 12-10 with Mountain View staying undefeated and coming out on top of that game. Marco and Miguel Smith, 2 junior twins. I guess they're twins. I imagine so. They're both juniors. They're brothers. Just going to throw that wild speculation out there. But that is Marco with a solo shot. I want to say it was like the 4th or 5th inning. He got inside of that pitch and elevated and got it out of there. Brother Miguel had a big hit to kind of keep it going. He was on a breaking ball that loaded the bases right there, that single, and allowed them to score a few runs after that on some hits. Aiden Albright, VMI commit 2025. He was in center, long, lean frame, looks the part. There we go. Had a hit, short to contact. He's strong, long strides, got some arm strength in the outfield. And then one guy I came away with impressed. I've seen video on the swing, never seen him in person. Really like the way the swing operated on video, but was Will Fry, left-handed hitting catcher for Forest Park. Got a ground ball by first base right here in this at-bat, and then worked a really deep at-bat here, got a fastball and went left center, I believe, for a double. I think it was 3 RBI double. It was a good swing. He looks the part. Compact frame. We'll see where he ends up positionally, but he can hit.
All right. Okay. So then to my Monday night game, I went and saw a little rivalry showdown between Kettle Run and Fuck here. Always fun to watch these two. I try to make sure I get this game at least once a year. They face off twice. This one was the one at Kettle Run. really, really interesting game, back and forth. It was really tight early. Jake Mulhern got the start for Kettle Run. He's pretty good early, actually. Punched out a bunch in the first 2 innings. Was low 80s, got up to 83. Had showed some feel for his breaking ball, a little bit of different shape on it as well. So 2025 arm there, Jake Mulhern. The kid just pitches. He's been Kettle Run's top arm for a couple of years now. I thought he was really good early. The game was 3-3 for the longest time, and then in the top of the seventh, Fauquier was able to actually really kind of break the game open. Ended up cruising to a pretty big win there. But those games are always big fights between the two of them. The one that I was really interested to see, and I didn't get a great video of him just because of circumstances when you're watching hitters, is 2025 catcher Jack Graham, who is back at Fauquier after being at PDG last year. The kid's physical. I like the athleticism. I like the way the swing works a little bit. There's definitely some things there to like. He didn't get a ball that he like cleanly hammered at one point in time, but he had some good approaches, some good at bats. And so I really, really like that. And I'm going to probably make a point to try and get back out and see Graham again later on this year. So that was my Monday night. Fauquier taking down Kettle Run. Jordan, back to you here. Godwin Atlee.
Yeah, so the game kind of got out of hand early on, due to some misplayed hit balls for Atlee, but I mean Godwin took advantage of it, scoring on pass balls, arrows, things like that. But I mean the pitching staff really dominated the whole game. Charlie Gunn got the start. He set the tone for them, and then it was able to hand the ball off to their deep pitching staff. Zach Boyd got the ball, and he dominated in his two innings of work. It was 84, 87. He got up to 88. But the thing is, for me, his slider was really working. He set it up early and then just broke it off a little bit on the outside plate for later strikeouts. And then to close out the game, Hunter Ross came in, and the breaking ball was really working for him. He got ahead in the count with it and ended the count with it. So it was really good to see him be able to land that breaking balls. Has been a little bit inconsistent in the last few looks that we had, but his ability to land it was a good look for him. And all three of the pitchers on the night, they picked up 3 strikeouts, so it was just a good showing of them as a staff, attacking the zone early, getting quick outs, and leading at Godwin to 11-1 win.
All right, Burton, your Tuesday night, you were back up in Northern Virginia a couple nights in a row. I don't know what you're going to do with yourself. Woodbridge and Colgan, what'd you see there? Big showdown in the Cardinal District.
Well, first off, I just love traffic so much that I just keep wanting to drive there. But no, back at Colgan, got a chance to see a good matchup. An uncommitted senior, Aiden Ellerts, was on the mound for Woodbridge. I know, Nolan, you saw him last year and was really impressive, especially with the ability to use the breaking ball. I thought it wasn't as clean of a look as you saw last year. There's still a ton to like about the breaking ball. I thought he tried to go to the slider a little bit too much. It just wasn't working as well as the curveball was. I thought the curveball was working much better. Still mid-80s arm, showed a changeup. I really liked the changeup. I thought it was his second or third best pitch on the night, but definitely an interesting uncommitted senior arm. And then definitely, honestly, the driving piece of getting up there to that game on Tuesday, outside of Ellerts, was Gavin Knox. Get a chance to see the 2027 Virginia Tech commit. It's been a while since we've seen him. Pretty proportional frame, not super long, not necessarily compact, just kind of average frame. Pitchability, throws strikes, mixes in off speed. He threw 2 breaking balls. I thought the slider was better than the curveball. He was getting around the curveball a little bit. I want to say he was – I don't have it right in front of me. I know he was like 84, 86. I can't remember if he touched the 7, but I know he was 84, 86. Held it fairly well through the first 2, started to fade a little bit in the third. Just a really strong out and just came right at hitters. Is not afraid, attacks the zone, can use that slider later in counts. I thought he added a little bit more depth to it as the outing went on. And then the standout offensively on the night for me was Julius Banner-Reese, Future Games alum. Had 3 hits, 5 RBIs, a grand slam. Side note, I was on 95. Or probably not on 95, probably like on whatever that road is coming into Manassas and Colgan. You know it, Nolan. I already know you're going to say what road it is.
234.
There you go. See, I told you. But I was probably on that road headed out. Same thing. It caught 3 or 4 at bats, and they were getting ready to go or they had just gone to the pen. But good look overall, especially for Banner Reese. Just had a really solid night, and I think Colgan ended up winning that game like 7-0. He had 5 of the RBIs. I know Bassett had 1 RBI early, so yeah.
All right, and then my Tuesday, absolute marathon zoo of a game, showdown between number 1 and number 2 in our Power 25, our preseason Power 25. St. John's out at Paul VI, big showdown in the WCAC between the two. Back and forth affair, a 14-10 game. Paul VI hung an 8 spot in the first. St. John's kept clawing back, got it to, I think it was 11-9 at one point, and then Paul VI put 3 more on in the bottom of the 6th. Just an absolutely crazy game. I don't know, it was 11-10, pardon me. Just a lot of mature at bats. I will say this before I start talking about arms and stuff like that. The one thing that was a big takeaway for me is a lot of times when we go to high school games, umpires will give 2 to 4 to 12 inches off the outside corner. And when you're an Auburn commit arm or a big time, when you have a big plate and you're a big arm throwing 87, 88 miles an hour, if you can throw the ball a foot off the outside corner, not many hitters are going to do much with that. The one thing that was a big takeaway for me with that Paul VI St. John's game, and the reason there was so much offense against good arms, is that they were calling a college strike zone. They were making the hitters or the pitchers throw the ball in the strike zone and attacking these hitters. And the hitters were all being aggressive. They were taking good at bats. They were hitting hittable pitches and putting them in play on both sides. I mean, Clayton Arma got the start for St. John's, the Auburn commit. It was my first look at him this spring. He was up to 88, touched to 90 early, kind of held that velocity. Yeah, he gave up that 8 runs in that first inning. He ended up throwing a scoreless second and a scoreless third. And no, Coach Gibbs was not abusing him from a pitch count standpoint. He gave up that 8 runs in about 26 pitches because Paul VI was just being really aggressive on fastballs in the zone and taking them the other way and doing a good job of putting barrel on the ball. You had the first pitch of the game, Alex Peltier almost went yard to left center. The third pitch of the game, Jackson Soroy just missed a home run off the top of the left center field fence. And then it was just good at bat after good at bat throughout the lineup after that. I will give Arma some credit. He did a really good job of fighting through that, adjusting his approach, continuing to battle, not getting frustrated, and giving his team those 2 good innings, getting out of that first, giving the second and third so that the offense could get going and start chipping away. So a real good showing there from him. He also did some things at the plate offensively, had a couple of really good at-bats. He hits in the 3 spot. First St. John's, up to middle approach, he lined out there in that first one, and then late in the game got a single to fall into center field. So I liked the approach from them. Offensively, I know we talked about him last week a little bit. The Maryland commit, the center fielder, the leadoff guy for St. John's. He led the game off. He also jumped on the first pitch of the game, went with a double deep to center field, and that is Nate Houghton Henley, the 2025 Future Games alum. He had a couple of hits on the game as well, so he had that double right there. He's going to have a single later on in the game. Made some big plays throughout the game as well, as he's a big part of what St. John's does offensively. And then I did get a chance to see, he came in at the end of the game, and that was Marcus Martin, came in relief for St. John's, got up to 90-91. Coastal Carolina commit, a senior. Fastball. He looks really good from the windup. He had some issues once he got into the stretch that day, but overall, that was a pretty good showing there from Marcus Martin, or at least I like the stuff. So there was a lot of velocity. There was a lot of good approaches and a lot of good at-bats. There's a ton of energy. It was a fun atmosphere. I know it was March, 18th, 19th, but it certainly felt like it was the WCAC championship game there, because it's the only time those two will meet this year until the playoffs. So there's a lot on the line there. It's enough of me rambling. Let's go ahead and throw it back to Jordan. Third game you got to was Trinity Episcopal and Atlantic Shores. Jordan, what you got there?
Yeah, What stood out to me immediately when the game started, 2027, Angelo Banks, he got the start and he was impressive. And what really impressed me was he showed the ability to land two different breaking balls for strikes, and he could throw whenever he wanted to. He did a good job locating his fastball, setting up for the breaking ball. But I mean, he'll throw the breaking ball, curveball to set you up, then filthy sharp breaking slider that just put hitters away throughout the start. So it was super intriguing with him. His fastball was 81, 84. But I mean, if you have the ability to throw two high school elite breaking balls, I mean, you can do some damage. He only allowed 2 hits in the start, picking up 6 strikeouts and 5 in the third. So I really like the start from him. He's an intriguing freshman to follow. And then Brett Beasley for Atlantic Shores, he's just fun to watch at the plate. He brings energy. I really like the takes, the approach that he has. His first AB, he saw a first pitch slider, and pitcher came back to it, and he threw it again, and Brett did not miss it, hit a missile into right. So it was good to see him be able to hit spin and adjust pitch to pitch. And then for Trinity Episcopal, Jalen German got to start for Trinity. He was scattered early. He worked into deep counts, but I mean, he seemed to always find a way out of the inning, making a very important pitch. He was 85 to 88 with the fastball, but touched 90 and 92 one time each. So it's definitely some life there with the fastball. The slider was inconsistent throughout the start. He showed feel for it early, then will lose it, but he gained feel for it later in the start. But just having the consistency with the secondary will be very important for him going forward. But I mean, it's a lot to like when you look at the metrics and things like that for German. And then lastly, Lawson McLeod, 2026 right-handed pitcher. He came in for relief, and he was pretty solid. He was 88, 91. He held the velo fairly well. Fastball was working the corners, jumps on hitters. He's 6'5", lanky, so when he releases the ball, it seems like it's right there on the hitters. He flashed a slider. It was 88 too. It was real firm, but it was more of a cutter shape. I know that he's still developing feel, and he's working with different groups for the slider when I talked to him before the game. But I mean, it's a lot to like with him, future projection especially. But I mean, he got some swing and miss in the outing, 4 strikeouts in the inning and 2/3. So I mean, not too bad. It was outing for McLeod on Wednesday.
All right, and Wednesday. Let's go ahead and go to you, Bert, for your Wednesday. 3 days in a row, Northern Virginia, Light Ridge and Dominion. You got there early from this one.
I did very early. And obviously the obvious reason is to see James Nunley BP, as well as some other bats, but definitely you come for Nunley and you get everything else in addition to. It was 25-mile-an-hour winds blowing directly out of like center right field. And when I tell you he launched baseballs, he absolutely demolished baseballs. I joked with a few scouts, like he had like 60 raw power in a 25-mile-an-hour wind during that BP session. Nolan, I know you've been to to Dominion, and the trees out behind center and right field, like some pretty good sized trees, some oak trees and stuff. And he was halfway up, like plucking them off of the trees.
Yeah, those are some mature trees that've been there for a minute. So yeah.
Yeah, and he was losing baseballs left and right. Donovan Newell lost a couple as well. Righties didn't have as much luck, but if you were a lefty on that day, it was an easy one to get the ball up in the air. Caden Succi came out and started, was up to 91 early on. I thought the curveball was better than the slider on the day. Showed a few changeups, got some swings and misses up in the zone on the fastball. When he got to the second inning, the velo kind of was really up and down that inning. But again, these are some guys that were thrown into a 20, 25-mile-an-hour headwind as a pitcher. So it was definitely a different day to be a pitcher that day. And then the arm that really won the day was Mason Sproat for Light Ridge. He dominated his outing. I saw him early on last year. I think this was week 2 this year. I saw him week 1. I think it was.
Yeah, I think you saw him opening night
Nolan.
last year. Opening night, I thought.
Yeah, I saw him really early. It was versus OP, I believe. I thought he just moved so much better. The body looked better. Last year, he didn't really show the breaking ball because he was just kind of getting back into things from surgery. Um, he just looked much more comfortable. The breaking ball, obviously, it showed better. He showed it in general. The velo held pretty well. He had some carry through the zone on the fastball. I thought overall it was a really, really strong performance. And then there were two, one underclass bat and then one junior bat. You got Jimmy Burpo, who is now starting second baseman. Started at shortstop last year. Pretty simple approach, pretty quiet, good bat to ball skills. I would say above average bat speed. Delivered some hard hit balls up the middle. And then one of my favorite hitters in the 26 class, Ben Drinkwine, big physical kid. And just to put it simply, the kid just hits. You see, he gets down in the lower half there, elevates that ball, sac fly to fairly deep left center field to score a run. Just a really strong offensive group for that Light Ridge team. I mean, there's not many kind of dead outs, especially in that first 5, 6, 7 of that order. You got Donovan Newell at the front end. I think Tyler Rowling is hitting in the 2. He hit an absolute bolt out of center field in what was, I guess, maybe his 4th at bat. He can defend it short. Like, it's a really strong team all the way around for Light Ridge.
Oh, all right. So that was Light Ridge Dominion. That was your Wednesday. Let's go ahead and jump ahead to my Thursday. Hopped it on over to Alexandria and begrudgingly sat in Beltway traffic, but we'll get to that another time. That's not West Potomac or Alexandria City's fault. So catch a pair of 2025 arms to see Austin Dean and Liam Jones facing off here. So West Potomac ended up losing this game. Alexandria City jumped all over West Pot there in that second inning, especially against Dean. Big rally, some errors behind him, a couple misplayed fly balls, just some really good at bats from Alexandria City as they came out and they jumped out big. I'll give West Potomac credit. They did a really good job of fighting back and not getting 10 run and hanging on and trying to push the game back into it. And they actually did a good job on Friday night too. They came out, they're playing on PPN against Centerville, which I'll talk about here briefly in a couple of minutes, and did a good job of rallying and coming back with a win there. But the big ones were the arms. Austin Dean, the 2025 left-handed Virginia Tech commit. I got to admit, I really like the way the arm works. I see it. He's big. He's tall. It was 86, 87. He got an 88 in the first inning. Was mostly 6 to 7 there. Really, really, really leaned on a slider a lot in that first inning, which was 76 to 78. That helped him out quite a bit. He got a bunch of punch outs in that first inning, too, I believe. Could have had another one. Another case here of the umpire calling an over-the-plate strike zone for the most part. So some good at bats from Alexandria City. They were able to fight off a lot of pitches and make Dean work. And then again, they punished him a little bit in the second inning, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it goes sometimes in high school. There's a lot of projection left. That kid is far, far, far from a finished product. I definitely absolutely see what Tech is seeing in him. And while that was a bit of a down outing, his second outing, just talking with his dad, knowing what we've seen from him before, be willing to bet that there was maybe a touch of it's the second outing, a little dead arm going, because that was also something I think I saw a little bit here in Liam Jones, 2025 uncommitted right-handed pitcher from Alexandria City. He was also 86, 87 early, showed a breaking ball. It was a little more of a curveball, 73, 74. He threw well. We've had his velocity 88, 89 at a scout day in February. He was a little higher last week. I will say that he did hold his velocity. I popped the gun back up in the fourth inning. He was still pounding away at 86. So that held. I like the athletic frame. The arm works there. So there's some good things to like in Liam Jones. So if you're a coach looking for a right-handed arm, and there was a coach or two there to watch him on Thursday night, make sure you guys are reaching out and hustling on there. He's one of the better ones that remains uncommitted in that 25 group right now. So again, that was Alexandria City's victory over West Potomac on Thursday. Yep. And let's go ahead and throw this back to Burton for Spotsy and Culpeper, where you went on Thursday night.
Yeah, solid game. It was pretty tight, throughout. Tyrus Knobs for Culpepper. Really strong outing for him. Strike thrower, low 80s. Held his velo, competed in the zone. Didn't get to the breaking ball to the second or third inning. Really just tried to kind of dominate with the fastball early. Again, strike thrower, competes, arm works. And then also for Culpepper, Gavin Alvarado started shortstop. Had a few walks and works some ABs and stuff like that. Shows his athleticism at short, lean strength, athletic frame, moves well. I don't know long term if he sticks it short, but the athleticism is there to allow him to move around to some different positions, and the foot speed is as well. And then we move over to one of the main reasons I went was Josh Perez, right-hander from Spotsylvania. Like up and down outing, I guess you could say. He had some command issues at times, but the arm is absolutely electric. It is just a demon bowling ball sinker. First two pitches he threw were 90, 91. I was like, okay, here we go. And showed the breaking ball a little bit. I really like some of the changeups that he turned over. It's high-end arm speed. It's still raw. There's still a ton of polish to add. It's a durable frame. Really a lot to like about him. And then Jake, I hope I pronounced this right, Erbst. That's what I'm going with. Shortstop. He kind of showed up like in pregame. I saw he's got the bright cleats on, and the body and the way he moved and the way he handles himself in pregame. So I knew we had something there to really get a look on. Line drives, middle backside, wider stance, athletic. I would say slightly above average runner. He can defend in the middle. The hands work. Average arm strength came in. Really low side arm to subby slot, upper 70s. Just a good athlete.
All right, Jordan, I skipped you last time. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and go back to you. Atlantic Shores and Greenbrier. So you got to see Shores a couple times this week, huh?
Yeah. So Greenbrier, they came out throwing haymakers early. They really took advantage of some walks. And then Michael Urbaniak got the offense started going. He had a hard hit single on a fastball, his upper 80s on the outside half. He went on to have a multi-hit night. He's super aggressive to plate, looking to crush anything that comes across the plate. I like the approach behind the plate, some arm strength. He's really tough back there. He shows the will to really block balls behind the plate. So there's a lot to like for the Longwood commit. And then for Greenbrier, Thomas Conrad, 2025 VMI commit. He was also impressive. He only picked up one hit on the night, but everything was hard hit contact when he came up. He showed an approach, ability to use the whole field. And then Tucker Roop came in on the back end in relief, and he was effective. He used his big breaking ball. I think he threw maybe like 4 consecutive times as soon as he hopped on the mound. He got outs. It was a low 80s fastball, but the breaking ball was effective. And then for Atlantic Shores, Brett Beasley, I know I talked about it offensively, but he came on in relief, and he really surprised me. His stuff was electric. It was 87, 90, touch 91, but the slider was the difference maker. Came in real in the slider, got swings and misses. It was firm at 79, 81 with some depth, and he picked up quite a few strikeouts on it as well. But it's plenty of intrigue with his two-way ability. So I'm really interested to see how he keeps going with his development on the mound for sure.
All right.
Urbaniak's probably I was going to say Urbaniak's probably most complete offensive catcher in the state, regardless of class. It just hits.
Hitters hit, man. Speaking of hitters hitting, my Friday got over to PPN. Big Northern Virginia tournament started Friday night. I think VBCA is co-hosting it. And yeah, I know we still got to get to you for one more game, Bert. And then mostly was locking in on Battlefield. Herndon, entertaining game. Battlefield jumped out 6-1 in the top of the second inning. Herndon rallied back, actually took the lead 8-6 in the bottom of the sixth. And then Battlefield calmly rallied for 4 more runs in the top of the seventh. The big jump out one here was in the first inning at the first pitch that he saw. 2027 Teagan Leach with his third double in 2 days just absolutely demolished this pitch to left center field. Big physical kid. We talked about him last week when I got a chance to see him pitch. Big impact offensively for him there, 2 RBI double early in the game. Also saw Yogi Colangelo had a similar double, beats the center fielder over the top of his head. That ball nearly went out to dead center into a wind at PPN, which would have been like 380, 390 foot shot. Goes for a triple for him. Absolutely killed that baseball. He had 2 or 3 balls like that that he hit on the day, showing a lot of power there for a freshman. Again, both of those kids are 2027s. We've talked ad nauseum about Battlefield. We've talked about those 2027s, but one who had some really good at-bats late, hammered a couple of balls, is actually their 2026 third baseman, Garrett Camp. He, again, saw him pitching. That ball's a line out basically to the third baseman, caught on a short hop, threw him out. In that 7th inning rally, he's going to line this ball into left center, makes it 8-7, and puts the tying run in scoring position here for them. On the Herndon side of things, I was kind of impressed. 2026, Charlie Morgan had a couple of at-bats where he just absolutely barreled balls. He's really, really good backside. This ball was a line out. This one actually gave them the lead here in the bottom of the 6th. So good showing from him. And then obviously when there's 4 games going on, you can't just stand there and watch the whole time. So I got a little greedy and popped around, got a chance to see Alex Gonzalez from McLean. This was in his 3rd inning. He was 85 at the time. Breaking ball came in at 77. He's a 2025 uncommitted right-handed pitcher. We got a chance to see him at first pitch. Arm works. I like the way the breaking stuff works. Looked good in that short little burst I caught. And then, of course, I walked over and I saw one Caleb Williams at bat for West Springfield. And what's he do? Doubles off the left center field fence. Caleb Williams, 2025 VCU commit, shortstop. Bert, what was your quote tweet on that one?
I can't remember. He just plays. Every time I look on Twitter, we're at his game and kids just hitting.
Yeah, I think Cam Eck, our other Northern Virginia guy, had been out to see West Springfield on Tuesday and the Friday previously, and he's lined a double somewhere each time up. So good showing from them. I'll be back out there again this week, definitely on Tuesday, so we'll have some more coverage from that as we go. Burton, I believe you have 1 game left here. Your Friday game, Bishop O'Connell and Collegiate.
Yeah, O'Connell, I don't want to say they dominated that from the beginning because it was pretty low scoring early on, or no scoring early on. And I thought that the pitching staff for Bishop O'Connell had a really good approach coming in. It seemed pretty evident that they were going to soften those collegiate kind of the Bash brothers and the donkeys in that lineup. They were going to soften those guys up and work backwards and kind of force them to beat themselves really. And I thought Jack Rampy and Drew Markey did a really good job of that. Both kind of in the low to mid 80s range. Rampy just a heavy bowling ball sinker. I loved him when I saw him last year. Kid pitches. And he just like spun and change up to those guys early on. And they wanted no parts of that. He dominated. Went fairly in depth on Rampy and Markey in the scout blog that comes out tomorrow. So make sure y'all check that out. But I thought the arms dominated. And then the scoring got started with Truman Leckie. Hit an absolute. Yes, I left the sound on that on purpose, Nolan.
No, the sound needs to be on that. And actually, we're going to play it again one more time just so everyone's paying attention and listens.
All right.
Has that ball landed yet?
Yeah, there's a giant green monster in left field, and there was no doubt that thing was clearing that. He annihilated that pitch, and that started off 1-0. And then it was just kind of they rolled after that. They got some walks. They worked some at bats, had some clutch hits. Guys worked counts, but I thought like best look of the day. The pitchers were really good, but best look of the day was Noah Hott. Started at shortstop. It is an advanced arm across the infield. He went out and took some pregame. It was just really a couple of infielders out there, and some of them had numbers on. He didn't. He was showing off his added strength in his compression long sleeve or whatever. But he didn't have a number on, so I didn't know if it was him or Powell. I thought it was him, He's not as long and lanky as Powell is. But I texted Jordan. I was like, man, this kid has just an absolute shoots across the infield for an arm. I mean, it is a hand cannon. It plays from short. He has the ability to stay there. Foot speed, check swing. Like it was just an excuse me swinging bunt kind of thing. When his first at bat, it was 3-2. He rolls a 4-0 to first base, beats an infield single to the second baseman, gets out of the box, plays the game hard, can defend it short, showed better bat to ball, showed some of his added strength. I thought it was just a really good look, and they rolled. I forget what the final was, 9-2 maybe, something like that. But they kind of dominated. I say from the beginning, they just set the tone early with that pitching staff.
All right, so those are the games that we're at. Make sure you're following us on all of our socials. Let's go ahead and shift over here real quickly to the Commonwealth Classic. That is coming up this weekend. Here, quick look at the bracket. I know that doesn't look pretty on top of us, but that's best I can do here in a pinch. This will be Saturday. We'll play the quarterfinals and semifinals, and then next Monday, the championship game. So that is the bracket. We'll have information rolling throughout the week. This is the second time that we have done this event. So Mills Godwin won it last year over Hanover. We ended up actually with 2 state champs in the field last year. Hanover winning Class 4, Cox winning Class 5 in VHSL. This year we're excited about that field, and we are actually moving the venue on Saturday to Iron Bridge Academy. So hopefully we don't have to randomly drive all the way to Charlottesville to find turf this time around. Knock on wood. I'm not going to sit here and discuss specific players ahead of time. I don't think we will either. We kind of did that a lot in December, and we have matchup previews that are going to roll this week on Wednesday and Thursday. But I do want to discuss some storylines. So, Jordan, what team are you most looking forward to seeing in this year's Commonwealth Classic field?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Nasman River. I mean, I know they're a scrappy, well-coached group. So, I mean, they have some names in that lineup that could cause problems for any team. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they could do in the tournament this weekend.
All right, Jason, same question. Who are you looking forward to seeing? And how is it not that first round game on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we pray for those pitching matchups, or we pray for those matchups. You know, I really hope that we get them. I mean, perfect world, Yoder versus Upchurch on Saturday. That's perfect world. And then Zayak versus Freedom and Burkholder, a little state quarterfinal rematch. So yeah, just looking forward to seeing some of the talented arms that are going to be in it. And you know, with Godwin's deep staff and 3 games in 3 days, does that pitching staff depth push them through to back-to-back championships?
All right, so Jason, you kind of half started talking about favorite. Jordan, who do you think is the favorite? Is it the defending Commonwealth Classic champions, or is there someone else on the table here?
Yeah, actually, it is the defending champions, because I just think the depth that they have on the mound, I think that will get them through a 3-day where some teams may not have all that depth on the mound. So I will say the champions from last year are my favorite for this year.
All right, Jason, just top of your head, who do you think is the favorite? Is it Godwin, as you were kind of hinting at, or are you going somewhere else here?
I'm taking Freedom.
Okay.
I'm taking Freedom.
Somewhere Coach Wright's clapping and smiling about that.
Yeah, and I think we're going to talk to him in 10 minutes. He's in Mexico or Guatemala or Guantanamo Bay or somewhere. Yeah, I think it's the Eagles. It's been an up and down start. I think they're going to have a few days off to come back healthy and ready to go in a big 6 matchup for that first game. Atlee and St. Albans potentially lose their top arm in that first game and then have to turn around and face Freedom in that nightcap. So we'll see.
All right. One more question each here. Jordan, who do you think's a dark horse to win this? We both kind of leaned on Godwin and Freedom. Who do you think of the other 6 could sneak through this that we're not necessarily talking about right now?
Benedictine's going to be my dark horse team. I mean, they're going to be able to defend. They have some talent on the mound. I mean, just as long as they find enough offense, I think the pitching will definitely push them to get through this tournament for sure.
Jordan, can the highest ranked Power 25 team be the dark horse? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
Well, I mean, if they're not the favorite, what are they then?
Yeah,
Look,
yeah,
I
like
chirped
not the
him.
favorite.
He's in his feelings now. He's in his feelings
No,
now.
You got them all
no,
flustered. I can see it on his
no,
Yep.
face right now. That a boy.
no, not at all. No, I mean, I just think
Had to get it before we
they
signed
have
off.
lost some guys. I mean, they have lost some guys from last year for sure off their roster, so they're still trying to figure out like who's going to be the man offensively for them. But I mean, like they're not going to beat themselves. They're going to pitch it. They're going to defend. So I mean, you got those things. You have a good chance.
I will say this, Bert, and I know I'm kind of hitting the previews here. Adley's got some volume of arms where if they can find a way to scratch some runs throughout the tournament, they could sneak through this thing.
They could. I hate to say my dark horse is in that first matchup is St. Albans. I think if they can get through Yoder, if they can get him out of there early, and they get a quality start out of Upchurch or Benner or whoever they throw. I mean, they got Desmaris, they have multiple arms. I think the biggest thing, like you look at St. Albans' record, and they're 5-6. We talked about it before we came on here. Those dudes have played 10 games in like 11 days. There's even for Godwin probably has the deepest staff in the state. Nobody's prepared at the high school level. Nobody's prepared for 10 games in like 11 or 12 days. Nobody. And, you know, after looking at some box scores and stuff like that, they've pieced a lot of stuff together. So I think they're going to have a few days off. They play Jackson Reed midweek. Staff comes in healthy. They're seasoned. They've seen everything. They've been in Florida, played like 5 or 6 games, you know, versus I'm sure some quality competition. And I think they're going to be ready to go.
All right. So again, keep an eye out for previews. We're going to have just some general information coming out Tuesday, and then matchup previews on Wednesday and Thursday on the website. And then hustle on down to Richmond this weekend, Saturday, weather permitting. Fingers crossed. It's going to be a wonderful Saturday of action. Those first 2 games will be played side by side at I'm already blanking. Great brain I have going right now. Side by side at Iron Bridge. Yeah, I don't know, man. My brain's in 6 places. Iron Bridge. And then those games will move to RFMP for the semifinals on Saturday nights. Will be at either one. And then the championship game on Monday night at RFMP. So hustle on down. There should be plenty of awesome action for that. Also, we have announced our full early summer event slate and posted the Mid-Atlantic Trials, the Summer State Games, the Top Prospect Games. We even added a second Top Prospect Games for our Road to Lake Point series this summer. Jason, any overall notes on all those?
Yeah, if you want to get to UR Top Prospect Games, I would imagine you need to do so in the next 7 to 10 days. We are at 71 registrations, and we're going to cap it at like 80, 85. I think last year at this time we had like 10 registrations maybe for that event. So it's a pretty popular event right now. We have a little over 100 for state games. So if you haven't requested, go ahead and do so. And then obviously we have the other ones at now Liberty and at Paul VI Mid-Atlantic Trials, and then junior state games at UR the day after Top Prospect Games.
And one thing I will add, just as I'm going to say it every single time for Mid-Atlantic Trials, that is on May 18th, right? 19th, May 19th. 19th. It's the day after the private school state championships. It is very much in the middle of many public school seasons. We do not want public school kids signing up for that event unless their season is completely over, which none of you will know at that point in time. So that is targeted for private school kids. All right. So if you've not done so, make sure you're requesting your invites to those events. We will sell them out. Invites have gone out, so please make sure you're hustling on that. With that all said, I think that's just about a wrap on this episode. We'll have some short hits. We'll announce our player of the week tomorrow. Team of the week on Tuesday. Keep an eye out on that, and then make sure you're following us on all of our socials, and we'll see you out there.